An award-winning sales trainer, best-selling author, and global keynote speaker, he's helped companies unlock billions in extra revenue by transforming how they communicate, how they sell. With clients in 50 countries and 3 hit books, his tips are trusted by everyone from Fortune 500s to solo salespeople. I have learned an awful lot from this man over the years, so you're going to love meeting him in just a second. Welcome to Leadership That Sells. This is the show where we decode what great sales leadership actually looks like. If you are leading a team of managers and wondering why things still feel a bit misaligned, it might not be them. It might be the model that they're following. And that's because most sales teams today are not actually teams at all. They're what we can call teams in parallel. That's reps who do similar work, but independently. And what we built is a lightweight reset to help your managers lead them the right way. And that's using clarity, identity, and autonomy. And if that sounds like your world, grab the free Parallel Team Playbook at the Practical Leadership Academy website. It's short, sharp, made for senior sales leaders and CROs like you. Andy Bounds, thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
No, it's great to be here, Paul.
Now, you've got one core message, which I absolutely adore, which is more sales, faster. That's it. Mm-hmm. Right, straight to the point. What is, in your opinion, the one thing that sales managers can do today, sales leaders can do today to unlock that?
Well, there's lots of things, but one thing really important is to focus on the who do. And what I mean by that very simply is when a sales manager is talking to one of their colleagues about a deal they're working on, they often say, "Tell me how we're doing with the deal." And what happens is a long, probably boring history book where you say, well, this happened and it's a challenge because and this and this and this and this. And the simplest thing to do always is just say who do. Say, before you tell me any background at all I want to know is who at the client do you want to do what next? So that's just who do. So for example, if I was briefing you on how I was going with a particular deal at the minute, if you say to me, Andy, what's the who do? And I would say, okay, and the who is, there's a lady called Jemima, and what I want her to do is to reply to my emails because she isn't doing. Right, there you go. And that's in. And then after that, you might say, do you want to give me some background on the deal, or should we just talk about the who do? And that's the thing that I find that people just do not do. What they do is too many of the meetings they have are history focused, and they're boring. They have information that nobody cares about, as you said. It's not really a team, it's a load of individuals. Then I might be in a meeting listening to 5 other people doing history lesson about their deals. Well, I don't care. But if someone says, what's the who do? And we say, how do we get Jemima to reply to the email? We can have a nice little conversation about that. Collective intelligence. Same thing, not better. That.
Collective intelligence. So that's the bunny, right?
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest ever learning about these pipeline calls, these sales meeting things that everybody bloody hates. And you get your 4 minutes in the sun, or rather, you get your 4 minutes with a blowtorch to your nadgers. And some of you being asked, where's that deal? Is it coming in now? And then you're saying, well, actually, Jemima's a lovely woman, but she really doesn't get to the point. What she really
reduce what you want to do. That's simple.
And then you get your pals to chime in, and your pals all chime in and say, well, have you thought about how could you? Well, I've done this before and that. And all of a sudden, everybody, you lift all the boats just by answering those questions in the moment. I think though, as a sales leader, it's really hard to recognize your sales people as individuals, because you, as the leader, are the only one who actually thinks they're a team, because you need them to be a team, because they're your team.
Yeah.
Because if they don't perform, you don't get your target, and you're the only one with a collective target. So you're saying, well, you need to hit my collective target, and they're individually going, I could give 2 rats about your collective target. Yeah, I'm hitting my boat. Thank you very much, not yours.
Yeah, it's a nice way to look at it. I mean, my childishly simple way of doing it is if you were a sales manager and you had a team of golfers, you've say got 10 golfers and they're playing 10 different golf courses on their own. So they're not on the same golf course. They're not in competition with each other. It's really how each golfer can do. So your job is to realize that it's not a team. Golf is an individual sport. So the individuals need the extra help. They need a bit of camaraderie. They need to know they're in it together. But ultimately, they each have to play on their own course and be brilliant. So your job is to manage 10 golfers on different courses. It's not like the Ryder Cup where we're all in it together.
And you've got to give them the right clubs. You've got to make sure their balls are clean. You've got to make sure that all those good things in the right place. It's not too windy for them. If it is too windy, well, you've got to hit into the wind, kind of curve. All that sort of good coaching in the moment.
Mm.
That's the stuff. That's the gig. I love it. And most people, I think of it as football or any other team sport of your choice, where everybody's different and trying to work together. And it just hammers people. I mean, I don't know how many hours are wasted in these pipeline meetings where the sales leader or somebody is just asking the most god-awful questions.
Yeah, it's nice actually. When I work in so we do lots of training and conference speaking, as you said in the introduction, but I do lots of coaching of leaders. And one of the things that we talk about is next time you have a pipeline meeting, maybe don't call it a pipeline meeting, call it a who-do meeting. Right? And then you say to someone, right, I want to know about this deal, and all I want to know is what's your who-do and what's your blocker. So who do you want to do what, and what's the blocker? Why aren't they buying that? The only two things. Don't tell me even what the name of the company is. I don't care. I just want to know the who-do and the blocker, and we'll chat about it. And it's interesting, pipeline meetings instantly trigger boredom. There's lots of things in work trigger boredom. It's like if you get invited to a meeting called Update, like already you know it's
they're my favourites, and
Yeah.
they're my favourites.
Then when you see they're not, they're awful, and you hate them, and so does everyone. I mean, you wake up in the morning going, it's today. I mean, nobody likes updates and pipelines and catch up. It's like when, as a salesperson, your opening slide says we're founded in 1922, and wonder why everyone just bursts into tears or starts saying, I noticed you used to tear the wall down.
I love it. I've only got 47 slides on the history of our founder and when he first came. That's magnificent, magnificent.
It gives you a career, so it's fine.
That's the thing. It keeps you all employed, keeps us off the streets and that. Now, when these poor sods then get out and they're ending up sitting in front of the... No, hang on, I'll ask you this in a minute. I was on one of your sessions quite a while ago, and it's one of the core things that I tell salespeople, even fairly senior people, is you start off with what they're actually selling and what their job is. You pare back. It's like psychoanalysis. What is it you actually do? Well, yeah, I sell things. Okay, what is it you sell? I sell socks. And how do you sell them? Well, they're the best socks. They're knitted from the finest alpaca wool. They're by virginal sock knitters in the high Alps, and they do all this, and they're the brightest colours. Aye, okay. Then what happens? Well, they're really good. Oh, for goodness sake! And your word is the afters, and that's so simple. It's such a simple thing to get out there, but there's so many people. You have a team of maybe 10 salespeople, or even sales leaders. I would swear at least half of them are going, right, so I should be selling what it does, not what it is. I said, at least.
Yeah. I mean, they're right. This word afters, I mean, anyone listening who hasn't heard me before, if you have heard me before, you've heard me say the word afters because I bang on about it all the time. But what I mean by afters is why the client is better off after you. So you say, you might go to see a lawyer and the lawyer tells you how good she is at law and how qualified she is at law and how many years she's been doing law and what her track record is. You don't want any of that. But after seeing her, you're hoping not to go into jail. Yeah, so you go on the lawyer, there's no jail, so that's all you want. You don't want to see the tax accountant, but after the tax accountant, hopefully you're not paying as much tax. And nobody sadly or wants you or me, but after us, hopefully their sales go up. So that's this idea that nobody wants you, they want the afters of you. Now, when people hear it, as you say, they often go, yeah, fair enough. And they go, yeah, I get the logic. And then I say, do you do it? And you go, well, the logic's obvious. So clearly I do. And you go, right, have a look at your most recent proposal. Was it called Our Proposal? Or was it called Our Proposal Confirming How we'll help you export into Belgium? So do you have afters in the title? If you do a presentation, is it called Credentials Presentation? Or is it called How we'll help you export into Belgium? When you have a meeting, is it called Update or Catch Up? Or is it called Meeting to Agree the Best Ways into Belgium? And everyone goes, oh, well, we don't do it like that. So, but that's the only thing. Start.
Yeah. Start now. Gosh, no. I mean, you build that into the whole, the best way of writing your proposals thing. And again, I'm just coming out with this it's foundational stuff. It really is, but it's beautifully foundational. There's a reason that the basics are magic. Because if you get them right, I think most people think that they're like the GB cycling squad and they have to dust off their spokes before they get onto their bicycle. I said, no, mate, you have to actually learn how to pedal first. Right? If you can't pedal, you're really not going to get very far. And it's the idea that your proposal should be confirming some in a structure where you've got it's saving you £1 billion and it's only going to cost you £1 million. That foundational practices. So I can highly, highly recommend you go to Andy's website. It's andybounds.com, I believe. And you'll find a whole ton of resources on his interwebsite, and all of this stuff is there. It's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant material.
Thank you.
You got a book called The Jelly Effect, and it's all about communication. And you write there that people remember what you say after you've left the room.
Right.
What you say after you've left the room. How do you get people to do that? And it's about the emotional connection. It's making them feel in a certain way. How can a sales leader, for example, use that idea to lead more effectively?
Right, that's a great question. So any communication you do whatsoever, but let's use the example of the sales leader talking to their team of golfers. Any communication you do, there's 4 words that matter. 2 of them are start and end. So you need to start well. Another word for start is first impressions. Your opening sentence has got to be good. I mean, I have seen sales leaders start their weekly pipeline meeting with, okay, everyone, I hate these 2, but we need to get through it. Well, that probably is not going to get people saying, please say sentence 2, esteemed leader. So we need a good start and we need to end with action. So the 4 words are start, engaging. So you need to start in an engaging way. So one thing I always say to sales leaders is make sure you got your opening sentence. That's good. Yeah. And then you need to end with actions. So the 4 words are start, engage, end actions. Any communication, start, engage, end actions. If I want one of my kids to go to bed, I start engaging. I don't say it's time for bed. They don't want to go to bed. So I start engaging, say, it's nearly time for your favourite story. So it's all exciting. And then I can do the action. So put your pajamas on, get in bed, and I'll read you 2 chapters. So you start engaging and you end with a call to action. It's the same thing with a proposal. Page 1 says, here's how I'll let you get to Belgium. And the final page is the action. Sign page 3 that we can get going. So as a sales leader, when you're talking to your team, start in an engaging way. So for example, if you have weekly regular meetings, maybe use the word difference and say, morning team, I thought we'd try something different this week. They go, they're engaged now.
Gosh, what's different now?
Yeah, that's right. Like, what is it? Yeah. And you're like, you can go, and I think we might be faced with 50 minutes today instead of the usual 60. Please, are really listening now?
Holy moly, plenty of tea.
Best meeting ever. But you have to end with actions. And the rule I have with any meeting at all, and certainly sales leaders with your pipeline meetings and your team meetings and your one-to-one meetings, the number of actions you want you and your colleague to do are this. 3 words, more than none. That's it, just more than none. I say it's not like we sales teams. How many referrals do you each ask for every week? And they say, oh, well, we're busy and we try to just ask for none. Well, then no, there's 10 of you. If you ask for more than none each, that's at least you've asked for 10, which means over the year you've asked for 500 and you probably would be fine. Just do more than none.
I think it's the idea, everybody wants to be, it's the problem with goals. Philosophical thing, right? There's the idea if you've got goals, you've got systems. Mm-hmm. And I think we're both on the systems angle because let's say you want to go off and you want to lose 10 pounds. The minute you say, right, I'm going to lose 10 pounds this year. Now, the best way of doing that is opening your wallet and letting somebody take it. Because quite frankly, the minute you say, I want to lose 10 pounds, you're a failure. Because you haven't lost 10 pounds. But often you say, I'm going to hit, every time I talk to somebody, I'm going to say, I want to ask for more than none.
Yeah, right? Just more than none.
Do something.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the idea of systems. So, this is a good thing. So, my wife is someone who naturally always makes the right decision about food. Sometimes I need to just think about it for about 10 minutes before I decide what to eat. So, some people naturally do without thinking, those irritating people. And salespeople are. Some salespeople irritatingly always ask good questions and they always close it really well. They just irritatingly do. So, there are these immortals who do things this way. But most of us aren't like that. Most of us are mortals. So, we have to think what the system's going to be. So, if I ask for referrals, I need to do things like this. Number 1, I have to know what sentence I'm going to say to ask for referrals, so I need to work on that. Number 2, I'm going to need to put time in my Outlook calendar to dictate time that I'm going to spend, because if I don't do that, I'll get to the end of the week and say, well, I don't have time to put in my calendar. So things like create your script, put some time in your calendar. Maybe you need to your PA or a colleague to say, check with me on Friday to make sure I've done it. And you get these building blocks in. So I agree that individual systems are important. I mean, as far as the goals go, I don't think it's a binary have systems or goals. You can do it. The thing I think with goals is, I I'm not only like specific goals personally, but I want to know a general sense of direction. I mean, there's a book by a guy. Yeah, absolutely. There's a book by a guy called David Campbell, and the book is a great title. It says something like, "If you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else." Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, the title's as good as the book, actually. It's so true, right? If you don't know where you're going, you'll end somewhere else. Which goes back to my do thing.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what you want Jemima to do, she's probably not going to do it.
Well, odds are, if you don't know what she wants, you want her to do, neither does she. She doesn't know what you want her to do, right? And I would say 90% of the people I've ever sold anything to have no clue how to buy things. Not the first Scooby, because their job isn't to do that. Our job is it's not actually to sell things, I think. Our job is to help people buy stuff.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have to work in their shoes and get them to do what they need to do in their mad context of their business.
Yeah, I love that idea about helping them buy. And it's I mean, when I've been working with our customers, and you always say, what's your favorite closing line, and how do you close things off, and how do you make it easy for them to buy? And over the years, there's two things I found work really well. So, I mean, I don't know if there's salespeople listening, but so the penultimate closing question is, this all seems fine to me. Does it to you, or do you have any final concerns? So I love that. So what happens if you've got any final concerns? I'll say yes or no. If they don't have any concerns, happy days. If they do have concerns, that's called objection handling. You go, oh, I'm glad you told me. What are they? And then you can just deal with it. So you get rid of objections that way with that penultimate question. And then your final thing is, if they're interested, just as you say, they're not used to buying from you, they're not used to making some buying decisions. So you simplify it. And I just use words like easy and only. And I say, well, that's better in that case. The next steps are easy. And there's only 3 things we need to do. Bang, bang, bang. And you almost see the customer go, oh, that sounds quite nice. So again, as a sales leader, a really good question to ask your team is, word for word, what's your favorite closing sentence?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you'd be amazed how often they go, no.
I had a phenomenal sales manager when I took on my first team. And he said that my workload would double when I first took on managing a sales team from being an individual bod. And he was wrong, actually. It tripled. But he drilled us all collectively. Drilled. You just pull people. It's like you walk into the room and say, it was French. You know, you have to go to do the French accent. You bored, come with me. I will punish you today. And then you say, what is your pitch? Pitch to me. You. And he'd make something up on the spot, and you'd have to pitch to him. Close me down. You know, he just make you do it again and again and again. And his concept, I'll learn later, I think he got it either from Seneca or Tacticus, which was that drill should be bloodless battle, and battle should be bloodied drill. Right? So the drill is hard, if not harder than a real gig. But there's no blood. You know, and thankfully, you know, in enterprise sales, there typically isn't that much blood. Although I've had a few moments. Fantastic. Right. When you then think of this jelly effect, you've got jelly mistakes. Is there a jelly mistake that leaders typically make when they're talking to their teams?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. The reason I call it the jelly effect is because how most people communicate, whether it's leaders to their teams or teams to their customers, is they basically have a bucket, they fill it with jelly and they fling it at the customer and hope some of it sticks. I mean, obviously, that's why you have the sales pitch that started standing in 1922. And it is a map of our offices. Yeah, nobody cares. It's a black and white photo of our 2 dead founders. Like, nobody cares. We're situated just above a W.A. Smith in Droitwich, and nobody cares. And so what happens is people just throw loads of jelly at the person who sticks. Then the ethos behind the book is the best way you can satisfy the other person is find out what jelly they like and then just spoon feed them the bit of jelly. Don't throw a bucket at them. And you find this with sales leaders as well. And when they're talking, they often give too much information. They just do the Arsenal, sit down, shut up while I brief you. I'm not saying all leaders do this. I mean, some of them are absolutely brilliant, but I think all of us can do is we can over communicate. And one of the things I feel is if you have a team who are very able and capable, if anything, you want to under-communicate. And so it's almost like you've got a bit of a challenge with this. So what outcome do you want? I'll say what, let's do 3 and 3. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I want you to think of 3 solutions to your challenge. I'll think of 3 solutions to your challenge. and then we'll come back in 3 minutes and we'll see what we think. And I love things like that. So often a team member will come to the leader and say, how do I deal with this challenge? And the leader thinks they're helping by saying, here is my wise answer.
Mm.
And yes, it does that, but it also stifles their initiative. It's much better to say, you need challenge. Tell me 3 things you've thought of. And you go, I haven't thought of 3 things, right? 3 minutes. Do a thing for 3 things. I'll see you in 3 minutes and we'll have a chat. Because one of your jobs as a leader is to enable and to empower and make people better without you. If they carry on having to come back to you, it just stifles them, I think. So another great thing leaders can do is just anytime anyone comes up with a problem, you go, that sounds hard. What 3 things have you thought of?
There are so many resonances, I think, between any sort of leadership, frankly, but particularly I love sales because it's such a microcosm of life. It reflects so much of how people interact, how you get around in the world, and particularly parenting. I've got kids and I'm watching them grow up and I'm watching them learn how to navigate the social situations and get things done and get other people to do things with, for, and around them. And the negotiation skills, the presentation, the communication, the influencing, the persuasion, all this sort of stuff. The one thing that my son in particular lacked is listening. He has no listening. He's like, no listening. My daughter's very good. She's better at it. She's 13.
Yeah.
And my 11-year-old he's quite a thoughtful kid. It's wonderful to see him be so thoughtful. But then he'll ask something and you'll look at it when you're dancing while you're trying to answer it.
Fair.
But yes, so my take on the problem solving thing is, what are our options here? Our options, as in we will solve it together. But what can we do? It's coaching. It's a coaching conversation.
It is, and there's so many great coaching senses. I love this. What 3 things have you thought of? I mean, because if you want to change people's behaviours as a leader, you just relentlessly ask them the same thing all the time. So if you yeah, that's right. If you want your team to ask for referrals, every time you see them, you say, "Here's your ask for referrals since I've last seen you." And the turns time you ask him, they'll probably go, no, and say, okay, well, I'll give you that one, but next time I see you, you might want to be ready for it. And then he'll ask for a referral. And after a bit, people go, oh no, Paul's coming down the corridor. He's done ask me about referrals anyway. And so that's a very simple way to do it. And so one thing that I found works, but I do this with my coaching clients, anytime they say they've got a problem, I do the sentence I've just said to you. Woof, that sounds hard. What 3 things have you thought of? And they know I'm going to say the question. So now what happens is they say, I've got a challenge. And before you ask, these are the 3 things. That's okay, because at least I have stimulated that they need to start thinking of things. Other coaching things, we've all got our favourite coaching sentences. If you knew what to do, what would you do? That seems to work quite well. Then, do you think he's good at this sort of thing? Oh, that's interesting. So how do you think she would handle this then? All right, so why don't you just do that? And so you get so many limiting beliefs that your colleagues have, and just helping them come out of it is one of the most rewarding things we can do, Alan.
You just touched on something that I think is almost foundational here. It's the rewarding piece. Because for so many years, I had to lie and cheat and be enthusiastic when somebody closed something, because I could give to it. I'm as good, fine, 1 step closer to my bonus. Hey. But frankly, I don't care. The thing that really boiled my kettle and buttered parsnips at the same time was watching somebody get from A to A plus to B to B plus, just moving along that line. And I think my conclusion, at least, is because I've seen a lot of different folk promoted into different aspects of leadership, even fairly senior levels, they don't burn for that. And if you don't burn for the success of other people, I think are going to struggle at some point, because it's not your thing. But it's the only thing out there. It's the only game in town for a lot of people. Well, I'm a grown-up now. I have to move. I have to be a manager and a leader and an executive now. And I have to do. But I hate people a lot. I hate all of them indiscriminately. I'm going to fire you and everybody who looks and smells like you. It's a gig. So trying to when you're picking people to promote, that's a thing as well. How would you choose someone from a group? What would be your go-tos for picking somebody be a good sales manager, sales leader?
So there are certain characteristics that I look for. So one of the you're hired based on attitude because you can always train the skills later. So there's certain attitudinal traits I look for. One of them is, as you said there, a desire for other people to succeed. Even if it's selfish because it's reflecting glory for you, there has to be some desire for other people to succeed. That's really important. And I also want to see optimism, proactivity, willingness to learn, all those sorts of things. But it's interesting, things like optimism and proactivity, the sort of thing that you might not think of those words, but when you think about it, all the best leaders have that. And one of the most rewarding things and useful things and valuable things that I've ever done for me ever is when I set up on my own, because when you're an employee, when I was an employee, but never flag stops with you, ever. And when I was the employer, all of a sudden it does. And so I'm not saying everyone should go on their own, I'm not saying not at all. But I just found that was really good for my own initiative, because I had to show initiative and proactivity and positivity and have to be the face of, we'll get this sorted, don't worry. And so anyone who has that sort of vibe about them, self-starting, let's fix this. And when we've interviewed people in the past, we've often said things like, if you were given this challenge, what would you do? Come up with 3 ideas as good as you can, it doesn't matter. And so we just test things like that. Another thing we would always do is one of our colleagues and so one of our PAs or whatever would knock on the door with about 5 minutes to go of the interview and say, really sorry to interrupt, but just, I've got another meeting in 5 minutes. Just let you know. And then this would be set up in advance, and then the PA would disappear. And then I'd say to the person I was interviewing, okay, you've got 5 minutes. Tell me anything you want to tell me. Ask me anything you want to ask me. Do anything you want to do. I'm not setting the agenda for the next 5 minutes. Fill your boots. And we found that really interesting to see how people would respond to that. So some people are right, okay, sit down, shut up while I run at you for 5 minutes. But the people we really liked, we've only got 5 minutes. What would be most useful to you, Andy? What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about? And we found that was a really good little question to ask.
That's really nice. That's nice. I think when you've got an interview with someone, how you want to hear from them, but you also want to hear that they are a good questioner, whether they're a salesperson or a sales leader or not, that they can ask good questions. They can and listen to the answer.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you're doing things like interviewing and selling are really similar things.
It's discovery.
It is, absolutely. And I was talking to child one who, so I'm miles older than you, so my oldest is 28, and she was going into an interview, I remember a couple of years ago, and she was saying, we were just talking about what questions she was going to ask you in the interview. And I said, well, if you think of an interview as a sales job, one of the most important questions always is to say, have you got any concerns? You asked that before, find out what the other person's objections are. And so when she went into their interview, it was all going pretty well. And at the end, they said, have you got any final questions for us? And she said, yeah, I just wondered what you were currently thinking and if you had any major reservations about hiring me. So I said, we were concerned, have you got any reservations about hiring me? I thought, bloody hell, that's strange. But she said that he got any reservations, then it stopped them in their track. And I went, oh, that's a good question. And she said, well, do you mind me asking? And he goes, no, it's a good question. And he said, well, I suppose the only reservation is your experience, maybe. And so she was able to objection handle and say, oh, well, thanks for honesty. I actually don't think that's the problem. Do you mind if I explain why? And she said when she started answering, they were just laughing. And she thought, oh, I've got this job. And it would just be, and it's just the same thing. It's listening, it's selling. But I love that question of what you final concerns, or do you have any reservations, or are there any reasons that we can't do this? Because the only answers are, yeah, I've got an objection. Let's let me do it. Or, no, I'm fine, crack on.
Magnificent. You have been a very busy man for many, many years, and for a long time you've been sending out this nice little Tuesday tip.
Yep.
And of course you can see it on his website. Go sign up, which is really good.
It's all free.
It's all free. There we go. What is there one that has consistently got the biggest reaction?
Well, there's two that have got the biggest reaction, and then there's okay, so here we go. So I'll tell you the one that I'm most pleased with, then I'll tell you the other two. And the one I'm most pleased with, I frequently get lots of feedback on the afters by people saying I'm not going to be like that. I always thought I was selling myself, but I'm selling what happens after me. Like, I'm not a lawyer, I'm someone who teaches people how to job. Like, I don't think I'm a consultant. I think my job is to help people make more sales faster. So I get lots of feedback around that one. But the two that we get the most open rates and most feedback is every year we do a Christmas quiz. It's I'm sweating good with my well, thanks, but here my sweated blood like searing insights and nobody cares. Bang out a Christmas quiz and they're all over it. But our biggest open rate ever was one of my Tuesday tips was called something like what we can learn about communication from the Durex sex survey. And for some reason everyone seems to open up. Don't know why.
I'm telling you.
Where do you start?
Well, it's a family podcast. That's the thing.
We'll just leave it there. Sorry, everyone, if that's not been its spam filters.
Last one for you then. If you could take one message and you could smear it over a world's worth of billboards, 10,000 billboards, north to south, worldwide, your name was on it, what would it be?
Sorry to redeem myself. It'd have to be afters in there somewhere. It will be something like nobody cares what you do. They care why they're better off after you've done it. Yep. So if you sell, don't talk about your products and services. Tell me why I'm better off after. I mean, you'll have to talk about your products and services to prove I'll get the afters, but ultimately I want the afters. If you're a leader, your job isn't just to lead. Your job is to cause afters. In other words, you want to enable your team to hit their targets, get a recognition, look good, enjoy their job. I mean, I often think as an employer, one of my jobs is to give talented people the job of their dreams. You know, my job is not to be an employer. The afters are these wonderful people get the jobs of their dreams and they are enabled to do whatever they want to do. So yeah, it's all about the afters. Nobody cares about you. They only care what they're better off after you. Beautiful. Nice thing.
Beautiful. 10,000 billboards. Nobody cares about afters. They only care about what happens after you've been.
There you go.
Love it. Andy Bounds, thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
Are you welcome, Vol? Thank you.